In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. This video is entitled, How to Know the Basic Unit of Energy from the Noble Quran. Now Allah God Almighty sent down the last revelation of Allah to mankind, the Noble Quran, which is a book that if people understood and implement, they would not need any other book. Such that their teacher would be Allah God Almighty and their textbook, the reference book, would be the Noble Quran. Now coming to the topic of this video, how to understand, how to know the basic unit of energy from the Noble Quran. Now this question about the basic unit of energy has so many scientists, they thought about it, they pondered about this question, and there is no definite answer till now about what's the basic unit of energy fields. For example, thermal energy, gravitational energy, and so forth. Now the answer to this question can be found in the last revelation of Allah God Almighty to mankind, the Noble Quran, by pondering upon His verses. So as you see on the screen, Allah God Almighty states in the Noble Quran in chapter 51 verse 7, and the heavens containing weaved strings. Now if we think and ponder upon this Quranic verse, we realize that Allah God Almighty states that the heaven space, the heaven, whether it's the sky or the space, it contains weaved strings. So Allah God Almighty teaches us that the basic unit of energy in space and in the heavens is something like 3 strings. You weave them together. As you can see on the screen, if we take 3 strings and we weave them together, this is weaved string. So this is the basic unit of energy in space. This is the basic unit of energy of all energy fields. Now, Allah Almighty not only teaches us the shape of these basic units, but also their function. So as you can see on the screen, Allah states in the Noble Quran, Allah God created everything in predetermined, measured. Now, Allah teaches us that He created everything in discrete quantum, in discrete states. So Allah teaches us here that these basic units, these weaved strings, they are not continuous, but rather they are in discrete packets. They are discrete units. So that's the first thing. The other thing that Allah teaches us in the Noble Quran, that everything in His creation, it's in a state of vibration state. It's a vibratory state. So as you can see on the screen, if we have these weaved strings, one of these strings, and it vibrates, then the space it occupies becomes less. And thus, if we have 2 bodies on its end, it will produce a pulling action on these 2 bodies. So Allah describes that the basic unit of all energy field is like a weaved string, which means that it produces a pulling action, a tension on the objects on its ends. And because it vibrates, then the space it occupies, it becomes less, and thus it produces a pulling action on its ends. Now in space, you feel this kind of effect on the earth, let's say. Now on the earth, when you try to move up, you feel like a rope is pulling you downward. Now this can be explained by the Noble Quran, that the gravitational field is composed of weaved strings that are pulling you towards the earth. So as you can see on the screen, his demonstration for that point, if we have 2 objects, the gravitational field is composed of weaved strings, so that explains the pulling action we feel in the gravitational field. So the answer that so many scientists, they try so hard to answer, Allah Almighty answers us this question, that the basic unit of energy is 3 strings weaved together. They are discrete, quantized, and they are in a vibratory state. And that this vibratory state explains why there is a pulling action on its ends. Now that's for the gravitational field. Now for example, the thermal field is the same. We see that the thermal energy is transferred from a hot object to a cold object, and this can be explained by weaved strings between these 2 objects pulling the energy from one object to another. For example, the magnetic field, we see there is an attraction between 2 objects. They have magnetic properties, and this can be explained by having a magnetic field composed of weaved strings. So we see how the Noble Quran teaches us all branches of knowledge, such that your teacher will be Allah God Almighty, and your textbook with your notebook Quran, and you learn the correct sense from the first time. There is no need for trial and error approach. To know more about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you.